All right, I think we're on.
Yep. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Hey.
Sorry we're a couple minutes late getting to, I know Mark just mentioned he's been running around. We were running around getting everything set up. And
yep, doing the setup here. Good morning, happy Saturday.
Good morning, happy Saturday to you. We're so happy you're here. I know Mark and Dana have both chimed in the chat. So
good morning, Mark and Dana.
Hi, you guys. How are you today? Hope you guys had a really good week so far and off to a good start this weekend.
Yep, hopefully they've got everybody out there that's watching has got some great gardening plans today.
I know, and weekend. As always, we want to hear what you're doing and what you're up to, and
totally.
What new plants are you adding to your garden this weekend?
Yeah,
that'd be fun to hear about as well.
Totally, so. And if there's any grasses involved, we'd love to hear about that too, because that's what we're talking about today is grass uses in the landscape and then designing with them. And we're just going to go over some basic things that we think are really going to help you guys out today, especially if you're thinking about adding grasses to your landscape. And it's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
Let's say hi really quick to Kobe the Bird Nerd. We love that name, by the way, still. That's so fun. Kim Matlock, good morning.
Hey, morning, Kim.
So we've got a lot of you guys are starting to jump on and say hi, and we could not be more thrilled that you're here.
Yeah.
So
thanks for being here, guys.
So this is going to be fun. We like you just mentioned, we're kind of a part 2 of the grasses.
Part 2.
So we'll kind of dive into that in a little bit. But as always, we love to talk to you guys first and answer some of your questions that have been popping up on YouTube this week.
Yep.
So
this last week, there's been some doozies.
There's been a lot of great questions, and as usual, we are getting caught up, I guess we'll say. We'll try to keep it positive.
We continue to try to be caught up.
We continue to try to be caught up.
So,
So, good morning, Diane Mulvihill. Mulvihill, yes.
Good morning, Diane.
I said that right, yeah. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. And, does everybody have their tea and coffee?
Tea, coffee.
Tea, coffee.
Oh, gosh, I need this morning.
I really needed it today. Some days you really need it more than other days.
Oh, man, it's been crazy.
We needed it.
Yeah.
So, you guys, let us know in the chat what's going on in your gardens today. And again, what are some of your plans this weekend?
Yeah. And if you're watching this on the replay, definitely comment below. And again, let us know what you're doing this weekend.
No, we love to hear about that.
Oh, yeah.
So,
totally.
Is anyone adding any new ornamental grasses?
Yeah, what are you guys adding right now?
Or maybe after last week's Saturday Live, did you go out and buy any new grasses? Really, we didn't. I'm actually surprised.
Yeah, me too. I thought we were gonna.
I really still want that pink muley grass, really bad. That's on our list.
Yeah.
But we got really busy this past week.
Yeah, we did. Just we're still doing some recovery from our second shot, and so, but yeah, we're feeling a lot better. Getting out there, doing our garden projects. Just built a Mother's Day box.
Yeah, that's
so for Allison's mom, she's getting a brand new wood box for the front of her house.
Like a flower box.
Flower box.
Yeah.
Yep.
So box.
Just got that finished yesterday. Julie, if you're watching, it's done.
It's done. And Sean, you did a great job. It looks super cute. It's just it's a cute little 4-foot long flower box. I mean, my mom puts it right under her window, so it's a great location.
She's needed a replacement. The other one's not doing so well.
Yeah, it's not doing so well.
So,
I know.
Yeah. But, and, it is Mother's Day. So if we don't, I guess we're not going to see you tomorrow. It's, today's Saturday. Tomorrow's Mother's Day. Happy early Mother's Day.
Yes, happy early
All
Mother's Day to you
out there.
guys. We appreciate you. And
we appreciate and love our moms.
I know. And we hope you guys have some pampering this weekend. And
you moms out there, you deserve to just take a day off. At least one day off.
I know, and maybe that's out in your garden. For some of you, it's like get outside.
Yep.
So we hope you guys have a great weekend ahead with that.
Definitely.
So yay.
Yeah.
Oh, there's lots going on. Okay, I know I probably missed some things. So let me back up. Good morning. We've got Donna Walters. Sorry.
Hey.
Good morning. And she has a question about pruning an ornamental lace Japanese maple.
Ooh.
So we're gonna come back to that. Okay. Allison Tokley from England. Good morning.
Morning,
Yay.
Allison.
So she said it's afternoon there, but
hello from across the pond.
Hello from across the pond, and it's kind of early here.
That's cool.
That's so cool.
Welcome.
Thank you for joining us. Connie Graham from the Willamette Valley has her coffee ready.
Oh.
Kim Matlock.
Connie.
Oh, Kim, you got our book this week. Yay.
Oh, thank you, Kim. Wow, that's super cool.
That makes us so happy. Thank you so much.
Goosebumps.
Yay.
Yeah.
That is amazing. We've got our book behind us.
Thank you.
It's still kind of surreal to us. It's coming up on 2 weeks since it's been released, and we're kind of just like, we have a book.
We need to mention that we are new authors. but all the support and all the great comments and feedback and everything, it's heartfelt, you guys. It really is. This is our first time doing this, and we didn't know what to expect. It's been a journey, and we appreciate all your support and all of everything that you guys are doing out there.
We could not, I know, it's just, it's been an amazing experience, and you guys are such a big part of that. So really, I love that. Heartfelt thank you to all of you. Allison Tokley was wondering about more info on the new book, so we'll throw this in front. It's called The First Time Gardener Growing Plants and Flowers, but as we've heard, and I believe Kim just kind of mentioned this as well in the chat, it is not just for first-time gardeners. It is definitely a book. We've heard some really cool feedback from people that have been gardening for years that have mentioned that this has been really helpful, just kind of refresher and brushing up on different skills.
And they're learning new things too. There's different nuggets of information that they're even able to pull out of the book and to apply to their own gardens. So yeah, beginner or seasoned gardeners. No pun intended with the seasoned gardeners. Bad joke, sorry.
Bad joke.
Okay.
But we could not be more thrilled with the publishing company Quarto Cool Springs Press.
Jessica.
I'm so thankful to everybody. You guys, we actually have a favor to ask some of you. If this is, we feel weird asking this, but, if you have happened to purchase the book and have been reading it or anything, would you be able to give us a review on Amazon, please?
Yeah, or Goodreads,
or anywhere you, because we're, since we are so new, people don't really know who we are, so. We want to get this information out.
It helps the algorithm on each one of those platforms. So
the publisher,
just make that ask. Thank you if you can.
It's a weird ask, but
if not, that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, please, no obligation. But our publisher's really trying to coach us and encourage us to ask that question a lot more, and we feel a little uncomfortable just saying, "Hey, give us a review," But so we're trying to work on that a little bit. So we thought we'd practice with you guys. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
thank you for letting us do that.
Definitely a thank you for everybody that's bought the book. Super awesome. Thank you so much.
So good morning. I know there's a bunch of comments and questions in here. We want to, I'm going to catch up while we kind of start our questions over here. We've got, Sherry. Good morning, Sherry. Sherry missed us last week. She said she went back to work and, are you still in Florida, Sherry? I know you were a couple weeks ago. I remember you mentioned that you had to fly back to work. So
I was working.
Let us know. Are you still there? So hopefully everything's going well for you with back to work, and
especially
I know
the travel.
Yeah, that's got to be tough after being off for so long too.
It's got to be weird right now.
Hopefully that's you've had a good adjustment back, and it's feeling good.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
We wish you the best for that. So okay, you guys. Again, I will kind of keep up with the chat, but should we get to our? Got some awesome questions.
Yeah, we got some real good questions today.
So Sean, let's see what we're doing today. Okay, so. We are going to get started talking about pelargoniums, which are very, relevant right now, right? Geraniums. We love geraniums. Everybody loves geraniums.
Zonal geraniums.
Okay, so we had a pelargonium plant chat a couple weeks back, maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
Here's a great question from Brooke Fraley, or Frawley. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. I just planted mine in the fall. Oh, sorry. Start over. I just planted mine in full sun, her geraniums. In zone 7B. I'm wondering if I should move them to the back and put them in pots so they aren't having to deal with the evening brutal sun here in zone 7B.
Yeah, great question. And thank you, Brooke, for asking that question. This is a common thing that happens a lot when people have their geraniums. They buy them and they bring them home, but they're not sure where to place them and how much sun they need and how, where they should place them. Is it better to get that afternoon sun, that morning sun?
Great question.
Just real quick, geraniums need at least 6 full hours of direct full sunlight. And so that means that they need to be in the sun for 6 hours at least. And this is so that they get that light requirement so they can continue to flower and they stay healthy. So something you want to consider is geraniums don't like intense full sun. They don't like that intensity. So afternoon, like Brooke said, brutal full sun. Not a good idea with these. They don't like that. They'll get a little burnt. They're going to get stressed. It's not going to be good for them. So if you can, place them basically in a location where they're going to get the morning full sun. It won't be as intense, but they'll still get that full sunlight for those amount of hours for at least 6 hours. and that'll be great for them. Even like midday, even around like noon up until maybe about 2 p.m., depending on where you live, because I know sun intensities can differ from area to area, but even up until about 2 p.m., if they're in that direct sunlight, that should be okay. But after that, when the sun is super intense at the end of the day and it's just beating down on them, try not to do that. So basically place your pelargoniums, place your geraniums in an east-facing location that's getting that sunlight. So basically, if you think about the sun's rising and it comes up in the east, place it on that side of your house or your building to get that sunlight, that full sunlight in the morning. And then in the afternoon, hopefully the sun has passed over, it's moving towards the west, and the sun isn't directly beating down with that intense sunlight in the afternoon. And you should be good. Now, Brooke mentioned that she might put them in pots, and that's a great idea too, because now you can move your plants around to get that sunlight wherever it's available in your garden. And that can be of real benefit too if you don't have a lot of room, or you just have spots during the day, like in the morning and midday, that get that full sunlight, but not all 6 hours. So put them in pots, awesome idea. Move them around to keep that full sunlight for at least that 6 hours. So great question, Brooke.
That's a really good question.
Hopefully that answered it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of having the option of moving things around, you know, and often, you know, sometimes you want to put things in the ground because it just completes that flower bed and looks beautiful, but containers are so awesome for that, because you can just, oh, it's too hot over here. Okay, just move them over in the shade really quick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's so versatile that way, right?
Yeah. So, cool. Yep, great question.
Yeah, really good question.
So, hopefully we answered the question. I think we did.
I think so, yeah. It was mainly about Zone 7B and just the full sun. Actually, we are going to answer, okay, so Donna Walters, hi, I hope you're still here, had a great question. She said, do you have any tips or recommendations on how to safely prune my ornamental lace Japanese maple?
Yeah.
So tips for pruning a Japanese maple.
So this time of year, at least in our hemisphere, hopefully you're in the northern hemisphere like we are, it's leafing out. Your Japanese maple is leafing out right now. It's starting to grow. You're seeing those signs of life. It's got these beautiful new leaves for the season to start out with, and that's great. You want to see that, or at least the buds starting to break to show those, to grow those leaves. So a couple things you can do is go ahead and take your hand pruners or whatever pruning tool you have that you can get in there, because usually Japanese maples, whether they're dwarf or they're just full size, they get kind of dense. They get a lot of dense growth in their canopies, so you got to be a little careful because they can be brittle. At least the dwarf ones can. The tall ones probably are to an extent. And so when you get in there, just make sure what tool you're using is a little bit finer. You can get in those tight spots. Prune out the dead. Prune out all your dead limbs. You'll know that they're dead because they'll either be like a grayish brown or just gray tissue like the stems will be, and they won't have any leaves coming out of them. And so prune those out. An easy thing to do too is do the thumbnail test on the side of the stem. Just take your thumb and scrape off that bark, get just down below the bark, and you're going to see, if it's alive, you're going to see green tissue. You'll see a bright green color just below the bark. If it's gray or brown or even black, it's dead, and you can prune it out. So use that as an example. You always have your best pruning diagnostic tool right here. So I know it's kind of fun to do.
The thumb test.
Yep, the thumb test. So also when you're pruning, try to prune things so there's good airflow inside the canopy. Things aren't rubbing or crossing. These are general pruning tips. Be aware of your Japanese maple's growth, its health. If it's looking healthy, there's no signs of stress or anything, yeah, get in there and do a little bit of pruning too. If you want to open up a part of the canopy or raise it up a little bit, go for it. Just be aware that you don't want to remove any plant material, any stems or anything if the plant's stressed, because once you prune it, it will open it up to more stress. It'll just be stressed in general. You know, you remove something from a plant, it's got to cordon that off, heal that over, and so that is a form of stress for the plant. While you're pruning it, during, just before you prune it, and then even after you prune it, make sure it's on a regular watering schedule so you can keep the plant healthy and make sure it's got enough water to then heal and keep photosynthesizing and doing what it needs to do. besides that, without a very specific question about pruning, I think that should set you pretty well.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. So, I love that thumb test. You know, I'm thinking, Donna, maybe if you have a specific pruning question, go ahead and email us, because maybe, and send a picture, you know, maybe if there's a concern about a certain area of the plant or whatnot. And Sean and Allison at spokengarden.com.
Yeah, definitely.
So just email us and let us know if you have any follow-up questions or anything about that, right?
That's great. Yeah, definitely.
That's fun. You know, I mean, if you've been watching for a while, you know, Sean loves pruning. It's kind of like, he loves just getting in there and just kind of figuring it out. So,
and each plant's different too.
Each plant's different.
You know, a lot of people say, well, you should do this, you should do that. And it's like, well, okay. But it also depends on the plant you have and what you have to go off of, what you're given in the scaffolding and the structure of the plant and its growth.
That's really true.
Each plant's different. So not all plants, when you go through and prune them, are going to turn out the same because of what they already have grown with and what you have to work with. So something to consider. Maybe a little too much information.
Yeah, but, well, I mean, that's helpful, though. It's,
but hopefully that answered your question.
I hope
Thank
that
you.
helped. Yeah, if you're still here, let us know if that was helpful or if you need any more information. Okay, so moving on. This was a question that came up this week on our rhododendron plant chat.
Oh, yeah.
Which it was from last year, I think.
Last spring.
So I always cringe when I think of that because I'm like, oh, our first round of videos were just...
We were still
whenever
learning.
you start something new, if you're able to look back on it, you know, you just think about how much you've grown and changed. And I cringe when I see those videos because our audio wasn't that great. We really updated and upgraded a lot of things.
Oh yeah, so we really did. Yeah.
It's kind of fun to think about. But
that was one of our first dailies.
That was one of our first.
Yeah, that was at the beginning of the dailies that we did last year, starting during the pandemic.
Yeah. So hopefully here we go. So Jessica King asks, my rhododendron is dying. Can I feed it to bring it back a little? It's dying.
Yeah, it sounds like it's not doing so well. Sorry, Jessica.
I know, I'm sorry to hear
that's happening to your rhodie. The quick answer, yes, you can definitely try and fertilize it and see if that helps. There could be some other underlying things going on that's making it die back. Now, without more information, it's hard for us to help with that part of it. For the fertilizer, if you want to give it a feeding of fertilizer, you can definitely use like a very mild type of triple fertilizer, like 10-10-10, 8-8-8, even 6-6-6 or 4-4-4. And what that does is, and you can use a time release, which basically comes in a pellet form. Usually they're synthetic, so just, you know, if that's okay with you, that's cool. If not, there's other alternatives to that. But they're easy to put down because they're time release. Every time when you put them down, you sprinkle them around the plant's roots, and then you water them, and they get water. It lets off a little bit of fertilizer, and it does that for 3 months, 6 months to a year. And so that's good. It's kind of set it and forget it, and that's nice to do. But if you don't want to use those types of fertilizers, you can always go with a liquid fertilizer that mixes with water, and you can do that about once a week, maybe every 2 weeks, depending on what your schedule is and what you can actually go out and do. That will help the rhododendron and any plant specifically to a specific point. But if it doesn't take care of the underlying problem for your rhodie, then it could be a couple other things. Some things I want to put out there for you, Jessica, is that look at your rhododendron and see if anything's gone on around it, if there's any construction that's happened close to it, or if you transplanted it recently. There could be some stress going on just from any of those things going on. If you've done any type of root pruning, or if something else is going on around it that has influenced its root system and that type of thing, that could be something that's going on and making it die back a little bit. Also, if you've used any type of, and we just ran into this recently too, we put some demossing agent up on our roof of our house, and so remember when you put that up, it's either water, it's applied in water, or you put it down in powder or some other form, and then it gets activated and it runs down with gravity to your gutters, and it'll go through the gutter system and get down into the ground eventually, especially if it doesn't go drain straight out to the street. So if you're doing something like that around your yard or on your roof, that could be something that has negatively impacted your rhododendron, where that runoff from that demoss agent has come down, and it could have got into the soil, and the rhododendron is taking it up, unfortunately. And so that could be something. Also, if you've put down maybe a weed and feed close to that rhododendron, depending on what that is and what strength it's at. The rhododendron roots could go underneath into the grass where you put down that weed and feed on your grass, let's say. That could be harming it. There's a couple different things that could be going on here. So I'm just trying to throw out some things that could have happened and help you think through possibly some of these scenarios so you can maybe fix it and help your rhododendron get back to health.
Gosh, there's a lot. I mean, there
there's
really
so
is.
much.
There's so many variables that go into like the health of a plant, right?
Yep. There's the things that we do to it, or not even intentionally do to it. There's rodents and critters. They can do damage to the plant. There's insects. There's diseases, but and then there's also the environmental stuff going on, where maybe your rhododendron had a tree partially shading it, because rhodies do like their shade. Maybe its environment around it has changed. A big tree or a couple trees came down, and now it's getting full intense sun, and it doesn't like that. And with not having enough water, or not having enough water or too much water, all these environmental things can impact it. So hopefully some of this helped you, Jessica, and I hope it comes back.
Okay, so there is another kind of a comment. I think I saw it somewhere, and I'm trying to find it. Sorry, I got a little behind on the chat, so I was trying to catch up with everybody. So thank you guys. Keep your comments coming. We love it.
Coming.
But I believe Donna mentioned that her rhodies are gorgeous this year, but they hardly have any leaves on them. So something must be going on. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
So it really applies to everything you said, pretty much. Like there could be environmental issues going on.
Construction, transplanting, shock.
I wonder what that, that's
if you
interesting.
not even if you transplanted your rhodie, or maybe you just did some bed work around and you took a rototiller and you tilled up around it, you could have unintentionally chewed up those roots and basically root pruned the rhodie back. You weren't probably trying to do that if that's happened, but that could be something that happens. So
that's interesting.
So I know.
Okay. Well, and Donna mentioned that she's going to email us.
Cool.
About the Japanese maple question.
Great. Thank you, Donna.
And thank you guys. So Mark had some great tips. He went to several Lowe's stores. He said about 3 it sounds like, and noticed that most of them had at least 6 or more varieties of Monrovia ornamental grasses.
Cool.
So that is a super cool tip, because if any of you are wondering, Proven Winners sells some and you can have them sent. I know, Dana, you'd mentioned in the chat today that you're planting a bunch of the fiber optic grasses.
Oh, cool.
So those are just cool.
Awesome.
And you can I don't know if you can find those out. Dana, did you find those out at a nursery or a garden center, or did you order those online? Because I'm wondering if you can find those anywhere.
Good question, yeah.
So cool tip though for Lowe's, they have a bunch of Monrovia grasses.
Awesome, yeah, and a lot of the plants that we highlighted last week, a good portion of them we found on Monrovia.com.
Right.
So
they have a lot of them.
Great find, Mark.
So thank you for sharing that. And Mark said it's really hot in El Paso, Texas. And Sherry mentioned it's like 94 in the LA area right now.
Oi.
So wow, you guys hang in there.
Yeah, drink lots of water.
It seems early. We're like freezing here in the Pacific Northwest,
it's
because
it's gonna maybe be 55 here today.
We were like having some really nice weather for a couple weeks at the end of April, and now it kind of dipped back kind of a little bit more normal, but it's
normalish.
Kind of like mid 50s, and it's cold.
Yeah, we're kind of
but we're loving the rain because we haven't had a lot of rain this spring yet.
Yeah,
so
we
haven't. Actually
it's been really dry.
We're rooting for it, right?
Yeah, it's been a very dry spring here, so maybe the climate and your weather's been a little off too. If it has, let us know. It'd be interesting to know.
No, it would be. And I believe Connie Graham, if you're here, hopefully, what's the weather like in Willamette Valley? Because that's not too far from us.
It's not.
So
it's beautiful.
That'd be fun to hear, like if you've been having some dry weather or whatnot. Okay. Oh, and Dana, thank you for letting us know. She found it at a local garden center. That's so cool.
Good find.
Gosh, really good find.
Yeah.
I would jump on those too. That'd be fun. So, okay, back to the questions, you guys.
Just got a couple more.
So on pruning Pompous Grass. So here we go, ornamental grass.
Ornamental grasses, guys.
Pompous Grass. A huge ornamental grass. So Penny Hoffman has a question. I have a miniature Pompous Grass in an urn.
Cool.
That's cool. I didn't know they had like little mini ones. That's cool. I trimmed them back just like your video shows. That's cool. The grass is coming back beautifully, but the plume is not. Does it take longer?
So it depends.
As always, gardening, right?
So And thank you, Penny, for your question. Really appreciate that. So yeah,
I'm trying to picture that.
I know.
So
it's like a miniature dwarf
like a
pampas
tiny
grass.
little pampas grass
So
in
that'd
an
be
urn
cool.
planter.
That'd be fun.
That's really fun.
And that's good that it's in a planter too, because it's contained. It's not going to spread as much. So that's good. So blooming, pruning. So sorry, no, blooming.
Yeah, the plume hasn't ever showed up.
So when you cut things back, kind of like what we showed in our video, it's stressful for the plant. It shocks it, but it also makes the plant recover fast and put on new growth really fast. So usually you want to, with all pruning really, and I mean a good rule of thumb and good practices, always prune after a plant's flowered in general. Doesn't matter if it's a tree, a pampas grass, doesn't matter if it's a pelargonium, it doesn't matter if it's a Shasta daisy, doesn't matter. Prune after it's done flowering. So in this case, I'm not sure what kind of pampas grass it is, because there's different pampas grasses, excuse me, and they will flower at different times of the year, relatively. Now, the one that you saw in our video that we did last year, it actually blooms and flowers. Those big plumes come up around February, depending on the year. It could be early February, late February, and so they come up in the very late winter to early spring. Now, so if your pampas grass, Penny, comes up, it blooms in the same time of year, and you just pruned it back, it's not going to bloom until next year. So, and it's just good to know when your plants actually flower, and then to be able to schedule your pruning and to anticipate that. So now some pampas grass, like the dwarfs, they'll flower in the fall. I just looked up a few things this morning and found one that actually blooms in the fall time. So
that's cool.
If you pruned yours back, Penny, just this spring, and it's a fall bloomer, then just expect it to regrow all those leaves to look beautiful, those blades of grass, and then it should flower. Technically, it should flower in the fall. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
So, so that it just depends when it usually flowers, and then taking that and depending on when you did your pruning. So, hopefully that answers that question.
I think so. I mean, without knowing a little bit more about where you're gardening and whatnot.
Yeah, and some of the other things you're doing out in your garden.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully that helped. Always good advice.
I think that was great. I mean, always. And again, Penny, if you need a little more help, just email us, Sean and Allison at spokengarden.com. Yep. And as always, we encourage you to send pictures, because that's really helpful.
Very helpful.
Just to see what kind of you see and any questions that you want to pinpoint.
Totally.
So
yeah. Okay. Thanks, Penny.
Thank you. I know. We have another question in the chat and another question from here. So which one do you want to do first?
You pick.
Let's do Sharon LaFay.
Sharon LaFay.
Good morning, Sharon.
Morning, Sharon.
Sharon has a great question, and I asked her a follow-up, which we've got here. So the question is, and this is cool, she just bought a snowball viburnum yesterday.
Ooh, pretty.
So any advice on planting it, and how far away from my fence? And I asked her if she could give us some mature size info, and she said it's supposed to be 10 to 12 feet tall.
Awesome.
By 19 feet wide.
Oh, wow, that's a big plant.
So how far away from the fence?
Well, normally, in a general sense, you want to plant any plant away, 2 to 3 feet away from any structure, building, point of access, because you want to be able to get in and maintain the plant, not only the plant, but also your building or structure, or your fence in this case. So, but it kind of depends to what your use of that plant is going to be, what your intention is with that plant. Now, if you're putting it up next to a fence, is it just to fill a space, or is it to create more of a screen, even on top more of what you have with the fence? Because if it's going to get that tall,
10 to 12 feet tall,
that is
that's
huge.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's probably going to go way above the fence top, the very tip top of your fence, which is great.
That's awesome.
And so if it was me, and I was planting this in your yard, I would keep in mind its mature size and keep it away from the fence, probably further away from the fence, to make sure that when it gets 19 feet?
19 feet wide.
Wow. I would make sure that it would stay probably 22 or so feet away from the fence. And the reason for that is because if I was doing this for you, I wouldn't want you to come back in and have to prune it all the time to keep it away from the fence. Because if you plant it any closer to the fence, it's going to grow into the fence. It can create some issues with growing through the fence, pushing up against the fence. Plants are very interesting. We think that they're not that strong. They are very strong, and they can literally push over structures and fences over time, especially when they get big enough and there's enough pressure. They can do a lot of damage. So from that standpoint, I would definitely keep it away from your fence, at least 2 feet out at mature size.
Oh,
go ahead.
There's an addendum. So sorry, okay. It's 10 feet wide, not 19 feet.
Okay. The same principle, okay. Thank you for saying that. So it still applies though for me. If I was doing it for you and planning it for you, I would keep it, if it's 10 feet wide, I would keep it 12 to 13 feet out from, so let me rephrase that because that's not clear. So if you have a plant that grows out to 10 feet, so you're looking on center of a plant, its total width is 10 feet. You want to go from the center of the plant 5 feet in one direction. So go 5 feet out from the center of that plant or on center, and then add 2 to 3 feet onto that 5 feet going towards the fence from the center of that plant. And that's what I would do. So
about 6 to 7 feet away from the fence,
maybe? 6 to 8.
6 to 8 feet?
I would say 6 to 8 feet away from the fence. So hopefully that was clear. Sorry if that was confusing before. So yeah, when you're planting a plant, look at the plant and look at it on center where the main trunk is at, and then take your total mature size, half it, because that's what you need to do. Because when somebody's talking about the mature size of the plant, they're talking about the plant all the way around. And so it's from edge to edge. So when you're planting things, it's good to realize on center of the plant, half its mature size out. That's how far out in spacing you need to go. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, and I mean, I would think like, oh, I want to plant it closer than that, but
well,
it's up to you, right? I mean, you mentioned like the maintenance and whatnot. Like if you want to put it closer, like it's totally your choice.
Totally can.
But you might have a little bit more maintenance in a few years when it is kind of more at its mature.
Yep. You're gonna need to take more time and energy to get in there and prune away and keep it up on a regular basis, maybe 1 or 2 times a year, depending on how fast it grows, where you have it. So
Sounds like an awesome plant.
Yeah, it does.
And she mentioned in the chat that it's for privacy. It's definitely and that's going to be awesome because you'll have 10 to 12 feet tall, and we're dealing with that in our own yard right now, where we have an area that we want to kind of enhance the privacy and kind of give us a little more of a buffer there. So we have some laurel hedges there, and they are kind of away from the fence already, and we're going to plant some more.
Yep, we've got some seedlings from that. It's an English laurel, and so they grow really fast here, and they actually seed themselves. So we're just going to get some of those seedlings and put them up.
Yeah,
do the same thing you're going to do.
You know, just might as well make use of all the seedlings all over our yard.
Yep. So hopefully that answered your question.
Hopefully that was helpful. I know.
Yep.
Okay, so last question from YouTube. For caring for fuchsia hanging baskets, Bubbly Bernice. That's a cute name.
Yeah, Bubbly Bernice. That's nice.
Bubbly Bernice asks, what type of fertilizer is best for fuchsias? Thank you.
Cool. Good question. Very timely because the fuchsias are coming out now.
We need to fertilize.
I know. We just got some fuchsias, and we got one fuchsia hanging basket we went and bought, and then we have our cuttings that we replanted, and we're making our own fuchsia baskets from our own cuttings. That's kind of fun. And so we're excited about that. So yes, fertilizing. So there's a couple different ways you can do that. Bubbly Bernice, thank you for your question, by the way. You can use liquid fertilizer, which a lot of people do, and it depends on what you're comfortable with. You know, there's a lot of different liquid fertilizers out there. There's always Scott's Miracle Grow, you know, and so it's made by Monsanto. So whether you fall on the yays or nays on that camp, you know, it's up to you. But a liquid fertilizer is great to use because every time you water the plant, it's getting fertilized. You can fertilize it that way, or you can fertilize it once a week. Every 2 weeks. It's kind of up to you and what your schedule permits. So make sure to use a fertilizer though. And this is my opinion. Some people would say that you want a fertilizer that encourages more flowers. You get more flowers and production out of it, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, then that's perfectly fine. In my opinion, for the health of the plant and to let it naturally do its thing, a balanced fertilizer, in my opinion, is a really good way to go. because you're letting the plant, you're giving the plant the ability, the availability of all these different nutrients all balanced out. And depending on where it's at in its own cycle naturally and what it is triggered to do in its natural environment or where you have it, it'll figure out what it needs to do, whether that's more root growth, leaf growth, or flowers. And so for me, I always like to let the plant figure it out usually, because if you throw more fertilizer, if you throw fertilizer at it that encourages it to flower more than basically just be healthy, that can create some things down the road of it's imbalanced, it can create stress, it can kind of screw up the biorhythms of the plant a little bit, but it's up to you. You know, it's completely up to you, and I know there's probably more information than you wanted, but I would go with a 16, a 12, a 888, a 444, and that's the 3 numbers that you see.
Oh, you got.
Yep. So we got these.
Oh, I like this Fox Farm. We're trying this out.
So this is a liquid fertilizer. That's one we have, and this is actually bat guano and
earthworm castings.
Earthworm castings, yeah. So this is a fun fertilizer.
You just add it to your watering can and.
It's a real easy fertilizer to mix up. Now there's 3 numbers. If you don't know, there's 3 numbers on every fertilizer container or whatnot. And so here's another one. Before I say that, so here's another one, and this is Dr. Earth's.
We were happy with that.
And this is organic and natural all-purpose fertilizer. Good stuff. Now this is more of a granular type of fertilizer. This is something you would take out and put into and mix into the soil, or put on the top of the soil, and then if you put it in a bed, you just put it over the top of the soil, put the mulch over that, and then water it in, and then it's activated and it works for so long. So we have a granulated fertilizer and we have a liquid fertilizer example. Now the 3 numbers on any fertilizer container or bag is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, NPK. And those are the 3 macronutrients. Sorry, there's micro and macro. Macronutrients that you want to consider when you're fertilizing your plants. And so, so on this one, the NPK is 4 nitrogen, 6 phosphorus, and 5 potassium. And that's a percentage inside each bag or inside each container of how much of that nutrient's actually in this when you apply it. So it gets a little complicated, but just really quick, that's what they mean. So this one is more, was it phosphorus? It's more phosphorus heavy than the rest of these. So that's going to encourage root growth. It's going to do some other things cellularly for the plant and photosynthesis and different things. The nitrogen is usually for leaf growth, biomass, greening a plant up, and that works really well for the chloroplast. Anyway, so I'm nerding out. So anyway, so here's 2 examples. I think on this liquid one we would do this. I think it calls for on this once a week for plants, but you can also do seedlings.
Yes,
we've used it on our seedlings.
And to get back to Bubbly Bernice, we're using this currently on our fuchsias this year. Mm-hmm. Last year we used the Dr. Earth, the granular, and that worked great. Mm-hmm. We had really awesome fuchsia growth last year.
Yeah,
health.
Once we put that on, it like exploded with just so much growth and even more blooms. It was beautiful. Yeah. It was hard to keep up with that.
We took a bunch of cuttings from that fuchsia last year, and we have 6 viable, really healthy cuttings.
Yeah, so here you go, guys.
We feel good about it. I mean, it worked out pretty well.
This one we bought on Amazon, so you can get this on Amazon. Not sure about supply right now, but it was available last year at that time on Amazon. Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully that answers that question.
I hope so too.
Yeah. So
okay, cool. Fertilizing. Fuchsias. I think that we're going to start moving into ornamental grasses.
Ornamental grasses.
We haven't got to that yet. So, yeah, thank you all for your questions.
Thanks,
that was
guys.
really good. And keep them coming
awesome.
In the chat or in the if you're watching the replay, just drop them in the comments below, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Totally. Or email us at Sean and Allison at spokengarden.com.
Yes, definitely. Okay. So, okay,
awesome.
You guys.
Okay.
So.
Ornamental grasses.
Last week we talked about, it was kind of part 1. We just thought it would be really fun to talk with you guys about ornamental grasses. You know, what are they, and like what are the different kinds available? Because there are so many. And we didn't even scratch the surface of all the different like varieties and cultivars and all the different types that are out there.
There's so much, and depending on where you live, what's available in your area.
And what's maybe even native to your area. That would be cool. But we decided to categorize them last week into like tall ones versus kind of medium or shrub-like, maybe 2 to 4 feet in height, versus like really small ones that could be like 2 feet or under, down to even mere inches. Like the blue fescues don't get that big.
No.
So what we're going to do this week is take a lot of the plants that we talked about last week and kind of design with them.
Yep.
We have a couple different recipes that we want to present to you, just thinking about areas of your yard or just I don't know, just for idea generating.
Yeah.
And we would love to hear from you guys too of any ways that you would recommend or add to any of these ideas or help any other people in the audience about with how you've designed with grasses.
Oh, totally, yeah. And your uses of them too, not only the design, but the uses. So I think the first thing we're going to look at today is the uses. There's a bunch of different uses.
Yeah, you know, there really are.
So here, we'll get that going.
I love the idea of just adding grasses for texture and just the way they look. You know, they're just so visually beautiful, the way they move in the wind. And that's to me, that's a huge bonus for grasses. Plus, they're so low maintenance, just overall. Oh, there we go.
We're shrinking. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Cool. Okay, guys. So, ornamental grasses, how to use them. There's so many, and you can see from our list here, there are a lot. And this isn't the whole list either. There's a lot more other uses, just depending on what you need in your garden and how you want it to look.
Right.
Flow. I mean, it's amazing how these ornamental grasses can change the whole look of your landscape with just like 3 or 5 different plants in strategic locations.
I love that you can put them along. So looking at the list, we've got borders and walkways, you know, just kind of lining different areas that walking paths and whatnot. Containers, they look beautiful in containers.
Oh, yeah.
They look beautiful as focal points. You know, you could have one large grass with a design around it, and that is your landscape. And that's beautiful.
Yep.
Like a big flax, or maybe an agave or something.
Or a pampas grass.
Or a pampas grass. Yeah, those get really big.
Yeah, you can put that in a location, have a walkway go around it,
that's
and
cool.
then and then you walk up to the pampas grass, and then around it has smaller grasses, tapering down in size to the very smallest grasses along the border of that walkway.
So cool.
And you can walk around it. It's just amazing.
To me, that seems like such a just like serene, just kind of a sensory environment, which we actually have a live coming up where we're going to talk about sensory gardens.
Ooh, yeah.
So grasses really will play into that as well, because they're just the way they move and the appearance, they're just cool.
And they can soften a whole area too. You can see from the examples we have here, they just, a lot of landscapes, they're very line-driven. They want to drive your eye and you physically through the landscape. If you throw some, if you put in some grasses into those landscapes that are designed like that, it softens the whole area. It softens the whole landscape.
That's so true.
It's awesome.
So some other ideas, they might be used for drought-tolerant areas and kind of, or even rock gardens. That's a really fun use for grasses. Kind of bouncing around on the list here. Seasonal interest. Now that's cool because grasses change over.
Yeah. Have you guys ever thought about this? I
love that.
Grasses. There's different seasonal interests in grasses. We know that there's seasonal interests in, say, like a maple tree, where it starts out green-leaved in the springtime, and you see those green leaves the whole time, and then in the fall it changes color, right? It changes to the reds and the yellows and the oranges.
So beautiful.
And
I
so
love that.
grasses do the same thing. They do the same thing. Isn't that cool?
I think that is so cool. There's so many grasses that do change with the seasons. So you have this like multiple seasonal interest, throughout almost a whole year. And some of them have, seed heads that you can let go to seed, and the birds will enjoy them later in the season. And there's just so many cool options.
Yeah, and some turn brown, some turn red, some turn yellow. Some have a progression of color from, beginning of the year in spring, from green, and then later on the drier times they turn a little bit more yellow, or they already have variegated leaves, and then they move into a red. In the later time of the year, into fall, they turn completely red, and then they have these blooms on top, these feathery blooms on top. Yeah,
they're
so
just
amazing.
Beautiful. And so another great use that we talked about just a minute ago is privacy.
Oh yeah.
Now grasses can offer some awesome privacy because depending on how you design with them and you know, if you're planning for the height that they're going to be at, like we just talked about a couple minutes ago, that is an awesome, and plus it kind of almost forms a sound barrier too.
They can, yeah, especially, Pompous Grass. In Seattle, there are lots of houses that line their property lines with Pompous Grass, and for a couple of reasons. One, it's a great barrier visually, because if you plant them close enough, they grow together really fast, and you can't see through them.
That's cool.
And two, if you try to walk through them, it's not a good time. It's not a good time at all. It'll actually cut you.
Yeah, they're sharp.
They're very sharp-edged leaves. And so for that reason, they work well. And I've seen that so many times. And also, they do block sound. It's amazing. All those little leaves, when they interlace together and they grow together, I mean, sound can't get around it, right? Because sound usually travels better without any barriers or just in a straight line. Well, if you have all these leaves together interlaced, it blocks the sound from getting through. It's super cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Anyway.
So lastly on our list here, some grasses can actually be used indoors as well.
Yep.
So there are a lot of grasses. You might want to look into the cultural information with all of those, but that is a kind of a fun option. You can bring them inside.
Sometimes they transfer over, they translate over. Some do and some don't.
Some don't.
So,
yeah. So yeah, that's kind of just an overall kind of primer on just different ways you can use. I know we touched on some of this last week.
A little bit,
but it's just fun to mention again because it's a totally different type of plant that is used for a specific reason.
Yep, and not only for the points that we put here, but think of a grass. It grows. Most of them grow in some fashion straight up. They might grow up and then fountain out a little bit.
The fountain.
They might grow up and then completely out, so they have more of this weeping type of form, but they give vertical interest and line of sight to your garden. And so that's how they completely can change it over to a whole new garden, just with a couple plants.
I know, I love that.
Yeah. So, okay, so moving on to, those are our uses. Now we've got a couple of ways to use them, and we came up, Allison mentioned recipes. Now, you might have heard this before from this past year. Different people have been talking about plant recipes. Basically, it's just like using, it's thinking of a food recipe. You have all these different ingredients or plants brought in together to make up a whole recipe, a whole look of plants in your garden. So that's what we're going to show you. We've got 3 different examples of that. And so the recipe that's coming up now is using grasses in the corner or a corner of your yard or on a property. And it could be up against a fence. It could be just in an undeveloped corner, not with a fence behind it or around it, but just a corner of the property. So
yeah, this was fun.
So
these were fun to put together, and there's so many variations to this. This is by no means like the end all be all, but what we did is we took kind of like you just mentioned. So recipe number 1 is for a corner spot. So if you have like a really neat corner that you've been wanting to redesign with, but it also has part sun, because some of these plants can take like part to full. Some can even go a little on the shadier.
Yeah, there are varieties out there that will do that, some types. But yeah, most of the grasses that you'll find out there, they're definitely heat tolerant. Some are very drought tolerant. Some not so drought tolerant, but they might be a little bit. So if that's what you're looking for a drought tolerant garden, because you don't have a lot of natural water coming in, or the availability of water has been cut off because you're in a drought, think about that and look into that option for one of the grasses having that characteristic.
I know, that's really, how awesome. It's just, once it's established, you don't really have to do much with it after.
No, you don't. Yeah, they're pretty amazing plants.
They really are.
Yeah.
Okay, so this recipe, you guys, is it's kind of a larger space, but what we decided to do is give you a 60 square foot corner, if that makes sense. And so we're thinking of a space that if it was a rectangle, it'd be like a 5 by 12 foot area, or even a 6 by 10. So this recipe is based on that size, and that's how many plants we used. Now, if you have a much smaller space, you just kind of subtract out the plants accordingly.
Yep. Definitely.
Or add more if you want a bigger space.
Yep. And what we did, you guys, is we actually took a piece of graph paper, made a corner, and then each square on that graph paper was a square foot. And so what we did is we put the plants in there according to how big their size is going to get, their mature size will be. Yeah. And we put them in that graph paper, and then we spaced them out so they would grow pretty much together, roughly. as they matured. And so that when we were done, we actually just started counting up the squares in the graph paper, and that gave us our square footage. It was really simple. That's an easy way to do it. It's not super exact, but it works for the idea and the premise of what we want to present today.
Yeah, so let's start with, okay, so in the very back of the corner would be your tallest grass, and this grouping that we came up with was a zebra grass.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Because we thought, you know, if you're thinking of a corner that's a little more partial sun, you probably want to brighten it up a little bit, right?
Totally, yep.
So, I mean, the blades of grass on that grass, that zebra grass, are so gorgeous, just that variegation. So these, now zebra grasses get to about, what, 3 to 4 feet tall?
We have our handy dandy cheat sheet here.
I'm forgetting the heights right now.
There's so many here, guys. Yeah.
So many.
So yeah, 3 to 4 feet
3 to
tall.
4 feet tall in the back. So picture that in the back of your corner.
Yep, and 2 to 3 feet wide.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So we thought that'd be really beautiful in the back, and then flank that, right in front of that would be 2 of those beautiful Nacella Mexican feathergrass. And talk about, you know, kind of that light, airy pop of color, just really lightening up that area.
Very feathery, very
love those
soft.
grasses.
Yeah, I mean, it's just gorgeous. Those get up to about 2 feet tall and almost about 2 feet wide.
So you've got a 3 to 4 foot in the back, and then it kind of graduates.
Yep.
That's cool. I like this.
Tapering down. So yeah, the back moving towards the front. Yeah, totally. Yeah, in front of that, there's the fiber optic grass.
I know, which we are all loving right now,
man.
right?
Beautiful.
So 3 of those for this recipe.
Well, and then in front of those is the small blue fescue grass, and we love the blue fescues.
Those really need to add that to our list.
Yeah, they grow great here, so we should maybe get some.
I know, I think we should. So 5 blue fescues. So again, for this one recipe, we've got the quantities right there. So it's the 1 zebra grass, the 2 feather grasses, the 3 fiber optics, and the 5 blue fescues. Yeah. And again, size-wise for that space, that would fill in and just be this beautiful, like, total, talk about low maintenance once it's all established.
Yeah, and for establishment, when we say that, it's usually 1 to 2 years of making sure that it gets regular watering, they're nice and healthy, all the plants are nice and healthy, and the root systems are established. After that 1 to 2 years, you can basically cut back all of that watering and consider them established in your landscape.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Now with this plan, you guys, this recipe is like strictly grasses, but a lot of us like to mix in perennials and maybe even some annuals. So, you know, have fun with it and just kind of like, you could mix in a whole border of like dianthus or pansies even in front of the blue fescue or, you know, just something interesting that you want. Maybe there's a certain color scheme or
and you
lots of options.
Yeah, you could substitute in here too some autumn joy.
Oh yeah,
you know,
that'd be cool.
Because they're drought tolerant. They work in rock gardens too, so they would fit well with a lot of these different grasses.
That's cool, and they would. Yeah, we have some autumn joys in a little bit less than full sun, and they do great.
Oh yeah, they're fine.
They do awesome.
Oh yeah.
So yay! So this is our first recipe. Yep. That was kind of fun. That was really fun to put together.
that was fun. Okay, so
recipe 2 is now this Kim is maybe it was Sharon was already way ahead of this with the grass that you chose, but we chose Pompous Grass for recipe number 2 is for a privacy area in full sun. Yep. So it's kind of the Seattle
it's
Seattle,
you know we're familiar with it. Yeah, totally. We're familiar with it, and we know it works. It gets really tall. Pampas grass I mean. There's so many different grasses here. I'm kind of looking at the cheat sheet here.
I think it was close to, it was
like 12 feet.
Over 12 feet, 10, 12 feet.
But yeah, it's amazing how tall these get. Yeah, 8 to 10 feet tall. This one variety from Monrovia. You can go to monrovia.com and find this there. They get huge, and they get a lot taller than your normal 6-foot fence. So it makes sense to add these. If you have a fence, add these in there along the fence line to get that extra privacy and that noise reduction. I mean, it's just great. And plus, they're beautiful.
Yeah, and varying amounts of maintenance depending on what you want to do with them. Because it could be a lot of maintenance, or it might just be like no maintenance and you don't really do much with them. You just let them grow.
Yep, totally.
But we chose Pompous Grass, but you could easily substitute in like a maiden grass, which we also talked about last week. It's a really tall one. And I mean, there are so many other ornamental grasses that get really big.
They do get big.
So it's just a cool, I don't know, you could even mix and match, maybe do a couple different ones.
Yeah, you could stagger them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, we chose 5 Pompous Grass, and this is based on a 20-foot long kind of section that you want to add more privacy to.
Yep. So if you're thinking about privacy, don't think of the square footage right off the bat, because if you're just doing one line of a grass to get that privacy, to get that screen. You don't need to think really of the square footage per se. I mean, you do if you want to put more plants in front of it that you're going to see leading up to those plants and then your screen. Then think of square footage. But really, when you're thinking about a privacy screen, think of the length or lineal feet that you need to cover to plant in those areas, in that area where you want the fence, and then think of the maturity size of each plant. And like we were talking about before, that one plant, think about how big it's going to get mature, and then go from on center of that plant, and then start thinking about how far apart you want to plant them. Do you want them to grow denser? Well, then that means you're going to need to plant them closer together than how mature they get. So I mean, like this, the Pompous Grass, 4 to 6 feet wide, each one. So we went in the middle of 5 feet, and on 5 foot centers, or 5 feet, we would place them. And so actually they would grow into each other. And that's how we got the 20 foot long, basically, with the 5 plants. And so it just depends on what you're trying to accomplish and how long you want to go.
Geez, I'm wondering if maybe we should add a Pampas grass instead of some of our laurels.
We could.
Interesting.
I don't know if they'll get enough full sun in that area.
Yeah, they probably won't.
Yeah.
I want to pause really quick because there's a question we missed in here, and I'm sorry, Kim, we got all busy.
Oh, sorry, Kim.
So Kim asked, do you have any suggestions for some good grasses that do well in mostly shade, like maybe 1 to 2 hours of sun?
Ooh, good question. Offhand, I don't know.
Because I mean, I could think of like cordylines kind of, but they tend to do better in partial to full sun, but they can tolerate. But I believe that the cordylines that we have for sure do get more than 1 to 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I know that a lot of them can take kind of more of a partial.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I was looking at our list here. Maybe we have like there's a lot of full to partial sun, but not a lot of super full shade.
They
grasses,
exist,
but they do exist.
They do exist per se. It's just trying to find them and
maybe some sedges or something. Or
yeah, sedge might work, but sedges usually like kind of mucky, wet areas too. They like more swampy. Yeah, so and I might be thinking of the rushes too. There's a couple different types of grasses out there, but yeah, great question. Offhand, I don't know.
I kind of want to look at some more. We'll look at some of our books and resources for that, and see if we can find some options for you.
Totally, that'd be awesome.
1 to 2 hours of sun. It sounds like. Okay. I mean, I can think of a ton of plants, right? But grasses.
Yeah.
Okay. You've stumped us a little bit.
Good job, Kim.
Good job, Kim. So we'll get back to that. So that was recipe 2. Let's move on to our last recipe, which actually, you guys, we borrowed from Proven Winners because we couldn't come up with any better options because they were so great. These are for containers for, I should amend that to say, part 2 full sun. So these recipes can kind of take either or. So that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And these are based on 12 to 14 inch container widths. If you think of your top of your container, so about 12 to 14 inches. Mm-hmm. And again, these are all from Proven Winners.
These are beautiful. Yeah,
they really are.
Fan the flames.
I like that one.
I like that
great
name.
And just pretty.
So it's basically made up of 2 different kinds of plants, 3 plants total, 2 Superbells, pomegranate punch calabroca, and so there's 2 of those, and then there's just 1 fireworks, graceful grasses,
grass.
fireworks. Yeah, Pennisetum cetaceum.
So those fountain grasses are so gorgeous, and they're great for containers, right? Because they kind of, especially like the little Proven Winners varieties, they've got them kind of
and talking
in there.
Talking about a grass-like looking plant, I mean, the cordylines, you'll see them out there. We saw them the other day when were we at Home Depot? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they're the center plant in a lot of the full containers that they're selling right now. We saw a couple different ways that they were being used. They're being sold. They're in the center of the pot, and then they've got all these different annuals around them, like full sun, like petunias, and a couple other types of plants, and like calabroca, and they're beautiful, and they look like this nice kind of fountainy grass coming out. Well, cordyline really aren't a grass.
I know,
but they look like it. Yeah, it's a false dracaena. They look like it, but when they get older, they grow on a single stem, and so they're different from a grass. But anyway, so so moving on there. Heaven Sent in the center of the screen. Heaven Sent, that looks beautiful. So
I like that.
Part
That's pretty.
sun to full sun. It's in a 12-inch pot. So 3 different kinds of plants in there. there's oh my gosh, fiber optic grass. That's cool.
Yeah, no, we love that.
And then there's hypoestes. Okay, yeah, Latin's fun.
I know.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with that plant.
White.
Yep. And then a Torrenia, Catalina Midnight Blue Torrenia hybrid. That's beautiful. Cool. Just all those plants.
Soft, yeah.
They all work together.
They really do.
The colors,
greens and purples,
textures, yeah.
That is a beautiful little container. And I like that it's part sun to full sun.
Yeah,
that's always nice to know that, not everything has to be full sun. Now this last recipe that we have here doesn't have like a sun needs, so I would kind of be careful with that. And it's nothing but grasses. It's literally, I believe, 3 different grasses. So you've got a toffee twist, which is a carex. And you've got a purple fountain grass and then a fiber optic grass. So they just kind of cram 3 grasses into one container.
Gorgeous.
A 14-inch container.
14-inch pot. Yep.
So yeah, beautiful. You guys, I mean, there's so many ways you can go with these.
Yep. And if you want to go look at these too, and there's a lot more of these types of recipes on there, not just for grasses, but all types of other plants, go to provenwinners.com.
Yeah.
Right? And then just search for the recipes. You'll find it. And there's a lot of different things on there.
There's a lot of
really
different
cool.
Things. Yep.
So
I think that's it for ornamental grasses, you guys. We just want to kind of talk about design a little bit and just kind of bring that to everyone's attention just because it's fun to think about design. And grasses are cool because you can kind of add them anytime. Yeah. I mean, there's better times to plant them than other times.
Yeah.
You can still add them.
A lot of people will plant them this time of year because they're available. They're being sold and marketed right now. Also to plant them in the fall. That's a good time to do too. True. Because the plant's going dormant. And it's a good time. It won't be as shocked to get transplanted. So just research that a little bit and see if any of those actually call for one or the other spring or fall transplant or planting. Yeah. Because some plants, they have a specific need, one of those seasons. But in general, fall's usually a good time to do it.
But I don't know about you guys, but I'm really interested in the grasses that kind of have that seasonal interest that either change color or develop some kind of neat kind of seed head or something by the end of the season that you can even leave into winter because they would just have that cool winter interest. Because talk about a big bang for your buck, right?
Oh yeah,
beautiful perennial grass that you really don't have to do much to, that just changes throughout the year. I think that is such a cool feature.
They're wonderful plants.
I really like that. And I'm still obsessed with pink muley grass, so it's on our list. And blue fescue.
Blue fescue.
Those are fun.
Yep.
So you guys, any questions or comments, just let us know. We're going to kind of move forward. We've got some cool, what do we have coming up?
I think, yeah, go ahead.
I think we have some audience photos.
Yes. Delphina?
Yes, Delphina.
Delphina sent us your pictures. Thank you. This is so cool. We're excited to share these.
We were able to get these in our slides.
Yes,
this is really fun.
This is going to be super cool.
We definitely want to help celebrate your awesome accomplishments.
So this is what Delphina sent us by email. Yay. And before we get into this, we want to encourage everybody out there, if you have something that you want to talk about that's growing or flowering in your garden, send us the pictures in an email and tell us what's going on. And if you want us to share them, definitely with the rest of the audience in the next live coming up, we'll do it. And so you can email your pictures and send us a quick description of what's going on in an email to Sean and Allison at spokengarden.com. And we'll put them in the next live. We'll put them in a slide and show everybody in the next live coming up next Saturday.
Yeah, I love that. We love seeing your photos.
Oh man, so cool. And this is Delphina. This is her landscape in LA, I believe.
Yes.
And so you can see here awesome landscape before and after photos and new plantings. She did a great job. I mean, this is super cool. So let's go through these photos here. In the left-hand side, you can see a before and after. The top very left picture, look just below that, and you'll see the after photo of what she was able to transform the front of her house into that landscape. It changed from kind of a beaten down area of like semi-grass, semi-not grass into a lush green grass that she put in with a nice path. Right.
I love that.
Yeah, right on the other side.
Awesome.
Yeah, right on the other side of that fire hydrant, she put in an awesome path, straight as an arrow, and then on to the right of that, she put in a brand new bed in there, a whole new landscape bed, and you can see that further over. Let's see. Yeah, if you go over to the right of that, there's more of a close-up of that, and you can definitely see that bright green grass, looks nice and healthy, that nice gravel pathway, and then her new planting bed. It's awesome.
I love that. That is such a great transformation. You must just love going out and looking at that and just being like, gosh, I'm so excited and thrilled about this now.
Can you imagine driving up to the driveway of the house there and seeing that new area that you just worked on? If you're Delphine and you're driving home from an errand or your job or whatever, and you come up and you see that, that would be such a great feeling to see that.
Feeling.
Oh my gosh.
And Delphina is with us this morning.
Hey, Delphina.
So, hi, Delphina. We're so glad you're here, and thank you so much for sending these awesome
We're talking
photos.
about your transformation.
I know, we got your garden up. And I love that Delphina mentioned that she is living in her grandparents' house, which is so cool because that's, as we've mentioned many times, we bought my grandparents' house.
Yep.
And so it's really fun to be able to expand on their gardens and their, the things that they had already set into motion and just be able to be a part of that. So that's
we're part of a multi-generational landscape.
We love that. We thank you for letting us know that too. That's really
super
cool.
awesome.
So on the right, we've got some beautiful new plantings, and we don't know exactly what everything. She listed so many cool new plants that she added to her garden. Yeah. So forgive us for we're not quite sure what all of these are.
Those are the yarrow.
We definitely see a yellow and a red yarrow in the bottom left and middle left there.
And I think Delphina, you mentioned in your email that you added some native Californian plants too, which is super awesome.
I love that. Yeah, what a great idea, especially to work with the environment that you have and the drought tolerant or the drought, that
the drought
is inherent in that area. And
definitely.
Great planning there.
Yeah, totally, yeah. And it looks like you have some really, you mentioned you put in some agave, you put in some lamb's ear, and then I think there was a hummingbird mint. Or no,
it was a hummingbird sage.
Hummingbird sage.
And then that lavender cotton that we all asked you about a couple weeks ago. That sounded pretty cool.
Yeah, it just looks so beautiful, Delphina. You did a great job.
Great job.
Yeah, nice and clean lines, beautiful plants. Yeah.
Yeah, great job. And there's some good feedback going on in the chat for Delphina. So
that's
yay.
Right. Plant enablers. Yeah. Thank you for sending this.
Thank you for sending that. And you guys, like Sean said, we encourage you to send. We want to add more photos every week so we can all just celebrate and just each other's achievements and just see your gardens. And if there's a favorite new plant you have that's in bloom right now, send us a picture.
Totally.
Sean and Allison at spokengarden.com.
Yep.
We'd like to get these up on our slides so we can show you guys.
Yep, we do.
Hey.
Yep. So cool, you guys. Now, just real quick, what's going to be flowering? What's going on in our garden right now?
So we're kind of obsessed with the azaleas and the rhodies right now because they're kind of a big thing in Washington State
right now.
Or in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, they're kind of just exploding right now in our garden.
It's just an explosion of color. I think maybe a couple of these might have been on last week's slideshow as well, but
they're still flowering.
They're just so gorgeous.
So pinks, reds, yellows, oranges. Would we consider that a salmon, a peach?
Salmon orange
in the upper right-hand corner. Yeah. So if we go through these, top left corner, we've got our begonias, and those we just bought. But we planted those earlier this week, and we'll tell you about that in our video roundup coming up next year. In the center top row there, that's one of our beautiful rhododendrons. In full bloom right now. Isn't that gorgeous?
I know.
I mean, I think
love that.
That's the one out front, isn't it?
It's out front.
Yeah.
It's just, and I don't even know if that picture captured it. It's just this light, like baby pink with a bright pink center.
Yeah, and that just
so pretty.
That face of that and the throat coloring and stuff of the flower, beautiful. And then to the upper right-hand corner, that's an azalea, and that's a deciduous azalea that we have in our front yard. Beautiful, just gorgeous. It just explodes every year with that color. Then the lower left-hand corner, another deciduous azalea that we have out front. And this is you can see that bright yellow. I mean, that's gorgeous.
It's one of my favorites in the whole yard, I think. It's just so beautiful.
It pops every year. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of a light purple azalea in the bottom center there. That's a very large, all of these azaleas and rhodies are well over 50 years old.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Very well established, very old. And then the last picture there, our double tulips finally bloomed. We've been waiting and waiting. Finally. So beautiful, kind of a creamy white color. We got those at Brent and Becky's Bulbs, which have a great bulb selection, especially if you're looking for things that they're a little bit unusual or unique. They have a lot of variety.
And they're East Coast based.
They're East Coast based.
It's BrentandBecky'sBulbs.com.
So, and we liked this bull because it's called Mount Tacoma, and we live in Tacoma, Washington. So we're like, well, we have to have that.
We have to have it.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
So yep. So that's what's blooming in our garden.
Yep.
So oops, sorry.
Off the screen.
Black screen.
So just a quick video recap, and this is always kind of the end of our show where we do kind of pictures and just quick. Yep. We didn't do a video last Sunday, but we did a short. Now, most of you know we did a year-long of daily videos for an entire year, and now we've kind of changed our schedule just a tiny bit, cut back a couple videos a week.
Yep, 4 to 5 videos now a week instead of 7. So yeah, no more dailies, but we're still producing a lot of different videos, so this is fun.
We've got a lot more coming your way, you guys, too.
So last Monday we did a short video on YouTube and how to maintain and improve water drainage with containers. That was a fun video.
That was fun.
Yeah, a lot of interesting, easy ways to improve and maintain your drainage. Then we had a video of planting begonias in pots. That was fun because we did a couple different pot plantings. We didn't just do one planting in one pot, so that was fun to do.
And begonias are just gorgeous.
Yeah.
There's just so many beautiful colors, and they're shady. It's a shady, shade-loving plant.
Yeah,
so.
which we have a lot of shade in our yard, so it worked out well.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So, and then lastly, yesterday's plant chat, Spanish bluebells. That was good.
Yeah, that was fun. Sorry.
Yeah, so all great videos. Glad we were able to do that. Hopefully you saw those. Yeah.
So I know we're kind of just like, what do we say?
Wow.
So you guys have been amazing. I think we've kept you here long enough. We just wanted to say thank you to all of you for being here. The chat has been a lot of fun today, and I apologize if I've missed a couple things.
Yeah.
But
we we'll definitely go back and read everything.
I know, we want to make sure we caught everything.
And so, if we didn't answer any questions that you placed in there, put them down below in the comments, and we'll get you. We'll get back to you. So.
And we just hope you have a great Mother's Day weekend. If those of you joined us a little late, happy early Mother's Day to all you moms out there.
Happy Mother's Day, you guys.
Have a wonderful weekend. We would love to ask you again a little favor, and again, this is coming from our publisher, kind of coaching us on what to say, but if you happen to get a copy of our book, thank you so much, first of all.
Thank you for purchasing.
Would you be able to maybe give us a review on Amazon?
Yeah. If not, that's okay.
If not, that's okay.
It's all right.
We've been asked to kind of get that up there because, again, that helps kind of get the book out. And since we're new authors,
So but thank you again for buying our book. Thank you all for being here. And we will definitely see you next Saturday.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Next Saturday, I believe we're talking about sensory gardens.
Ooh,
is that next week? Scratch that. Totally off topic. We are talking about ornamental flowering herbs next week.
Fun.
We are talking about herbs.
Oh, yeah.
How to use them, what kinds, like just
there's so many different kinds.
Like
there's so many plants that are considered herbs.
Love herbs.
Yeah, there's a big list. It's a huge list. Probably some plants you've never heard of or thought of to be herbs.
That's going to be fun. So bring your questions about herbs, and we'll just nerd out about herbs next week.
Yep. Plant enablers.
Plant enablers. I know. You guys have a great weekend in your gardens.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
We are so thankful you were here, and
Thank you.
Have a great day ahead.
Yep. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Totally like.